this is the, this is on last year's one, but this is the Noma station. Noma made a lot of Christmas lights. If you're old like me, you probably remember buying Noma Christmas lights for your Christmas tree. Well, for 2 years they made this talking station which came equipped with a little 78 RPM record that ran on 2 D-cell batteries. They invariably would wear out, the belts would get brittle and break. So this one is a recording from that, and it's basically a little electronic thing that I installed in the same place. So you can't tell it's not the original, but it sounds just like it. It's an actual recording from the original. And it's activated by pressing the button in the chimney. The recording, they had several recordings depending on what part of the country. This was for the Northeast where I grew up, Pennsylvania Railroad. And they had a train called the Pennsylvania Broadway Limited that would run from Chicago to New York in the late 20s and I guess into the early 40s. And again, this was before they had a lot of plane transportation, so a lot of businessmen in the Pennsylvania Railroad went all the way from the middle America to the upper Northeast. So they would get on in Chicago and get on and you'll hear the announcement, sleeping cars only, because they'd get on in Chicago and get a berth or whatever it was, a room where they would sleep. And then they wake up 20 hours later in New York. So you'll hear the guy, and he goes through all the different places. Crestline, Ohio, which had a big roundhouse, and a lot of the steam engines were there back in the day. And then you go through the different towns of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, and you'll hear, Philadelphia, Newark, and New York, and then a Chicago accent. So I'll just play it. It's an actual announcement. I don't think that dispatcher ever knew that he was going to be famous, but here he is.
Number 28, Pennsylvania Broadway Limited, for Crestline, Pittsburgh, Altoona, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, Newark, and New York. Sleeping cars only. Leaving on track number 2. Aboard!
And of course, the recording of the actual steam engine taking off. You'll notice the whistle now has a lower pitch because of the Doppler effect of moving away. Which indicates it was an actual recording. It's another Lionel illusion. They take logs and they turn them into lumbers and make a little sound like a lump. The little figures are mine. And the other thing you'll notice, well, I don't see the lights on. Yeah, you'll notice if you look in there, I've got lights on in there. If you raise it up a little bit, raise it up a little higher. And it didn't come with lights, so when it's dark, you can see like the lumber mills lit up, but Lionel didn't make it that way. Don't ask me why, but they didn't. It is an Erector set that Gilbert, who also made American Flyers, this is a 10.5 inch, I think what they call 10 and a half, which is, I don't know why they had half, but that was the largest set. And this is the biggest thing you could build. It's a parachute jump. It was actually modeled after the Coney Island parachute jump, which they still have the metal there, but it's not worked for many, many years. Now they have smaller versions of this in parks. And what's interesting is the mechanics of it. There's actually two gears, and one of the gears has got teeth missing on about a third of the gear. And so when it gets to that point, that allows them to drop. And then as it turns around, it eventually catches the rest of the gear with the teeth and hauls it up again. And it just keeps doing that over and over. These people are probably getting sick and ready to vomit by this time, but anyway, that's all it does. You would actually need to have it taller, because you notice that a couple of the chutes will open up just near the bottom because of the air, like a normal parachute. But so, like if you threw this up way high in the air, it would fall about 5 feet or so, and then they catch and open up. But these, of course, they don't open up very good, because in a 5 feet drop, it's just barely starting to open when it hits the bottom. That's about it. I added the lights.
I've got the Erector that you're talking about, unless you make the merry-go-round.
Yeah, this will make the motor go around.
Yeah.
I have two motors, that's why I can run a couple of different things, but I have to take this apart to do the merry-go-round, but
I have a number of Erector set motors.
this ride that I made also from an Erector set, it's my own design. Gilbert never had it in their catalog. It's called a Rolo-plane. And obviously you can see I used some PCV pipe to make the cars. If you want to see what the real one looks like, it's you can go to YouTube and get Knoebel's satellite, because they named it a satellite, but the generic name was Rolo-plane. An airplane company that made airplanes made this ride. They probably had, there might be half a dozen between carnivals and 2 or 3 amusement parks. One is in Knoebel's in Ellisburg, Pennsylvania. But there's not many of them left. I grew up with stuff like this. It's an interesting ride. Actually, when I was a teenager, I made, not quite this sophisticated, but made one of these out of an Erector set, because I was so intrigued by it. It never goes upside down because of this offset, which pulls the cars when it's in the vertical position going this way, which it is right now, and now it's going into the horizontal position. The cars would be at the top and the bottom are straight up, so you're not upside down. And when it's in the vertical plane, when it goes, when you're actually on the ride, it's very disorienting. You almost feel like it's going upside down, but you're going straight up, and then you level out, and you go straight down, and you level out. And on the top, you're going side to side. And so when they actually would run the ride, they'd go through a full cycle. Oops, I went too far. When they get back in the vertical position, they'd stop it and run the whole thing in reverse, which I will do quickly here. So they'd stop it so that, like, you're going straight up or straight down, and then you think the ride's over and you go through it again, and then you go through another cycle. But they have point of view things, which shows you, like, you're seeing the sky, then you're seeing the ground, then you're seeing something else. I'll show you this merry-go-round because I have a cassette tape that goes with it, and it's an actual barrel organ that's on one of the music boxes at Knoebel's. Oops, except it's not working now. I think sometimes this goes. Anyway, if that cools off, I'll play it later. So most of these rides I got from another train guy, and they were not working, and I had to replace sometimes gears, sometimes motors to make them functional. This is a roundup and the original one would stay up and stay down, which I can do manually like this. That's the way the real ride would be for about a minute or so, and then they would let it down, and of course then they would stop and let the people off. So in order to make it work without that, I did some other things. So this one and this one are new rides that I've not repaired. The Ferris wheel and the graveyard party, which I kind of look at as like it's sort of to me, kind of a takeoff on the Haunted Mansion. And they have different sounds and music too if you go with it. The bumper cars don't. These are my favorites. So that's a good Halloween ride. This is a Halloween ride too, because it's just basically a airplane ride, but they made it into a zombie ride. And it has sounds with it as well. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. I'll try the merry-go-round. Excuse me, I'll try the merry-go-round one more time. So. Oh, there it goes.